Hey, good evening, everybody. It is Friday. It is the 21st of September, and it's the Gin and Tonic Show. As every Friday, we are, as far as I know, the only English-speaking call-in show on the entire planet where people can call in, where people can discuss Islam. And that is all we do. We do not normally, well, we will address when necessary other belief systems, but normally we only look at the ideology of Islam, and that is what we primarily tackle here. It's not that we attack, it is not that we in any way attack all Muslims. It is not that we hate. It is not that we are spreading hate. It is not that we are doing anything untoward. I think we're being very fair. We are showing both sides. We've had Muslim apologists here. We've had Muslim scholars on here. We've had imams. We've had different people here who gave us their view of Islam. And we've had critics here. What we do is we look at mostly it is the text. Mostly it is the Quran, and we're going to analyze it. And then we look at the ideas, and then we decide if those ideas fit into the 21st century and whether they're good or bad, and whether they are a positive or negative development for mankind in the 21st century. This does not mean that we attack. This does not mean that we hate. This does not mean that we are addressing all Muslims. We look at apologists and we go, that's what we need to address, I think, today in the 21st century. Okay, welcome everybody to the chat where I see that, well, you've noticed that Rob is not here. He's working, so I'm hosting today. And I'm seeing in the chat that there has been some development. Now, one thing I haven't done is, and I know that you're gonna miss this sorely. There's gonna be no crazy comments today. I completely forgot about normally Rob reminds me, and then I go off and quickly gather some, but today I did not do this, and of course I forgot this. So let's look at only the news at the moment. And I don't know if people have been watching this, because there was an incident in the UK and London where Muslims were praying in the street outside, not inside, outside an Islamic center. Now, there are several. There are like 10 mosques within a couple of feet, within a mile of this place. So they could, by all means, go and pray inside a mosque. Instead, what they are doing is they are praying in the street, blocking the street, making a show of it. And what happened is that Tan was sitting in front of them. And Tan was putting a can of tango in front of him and just humming Om. But he was 2 meters in front of the Muslims who were trying to pray. And he was loudly saying Om. Money, money, Om. Money, money, Om. Everybody pray to tango. And then he was prostrating to the can of tango. And this was irritating the Muslims. And then a lady came out of the shop and said, leave the people alone. They are just praying. She doesn't understand what Islam is. She doesn't understand what this is. She doesn't understand that this is political. What they are trying to do is they are trying to show the rest of the world, we are here to stay, and you have got nothing that you can put in our way. We are going to dominate. This is the theme that I get from Muslims again and again and again. We will dominate. And that's it. And then she went and took this can and sprayed the contents all over Tan. Now, Tan, he's amazing, okay? He's an excellent actor, and he actually immediately took this and turned it around and said, thank you for spraying me with the holy liquid. Making it look even more absurd. And this is the entire thing. This is satire, okay? And he's using satire at its best. This is brilliant. In my eyes, it is absolutely brilliant, the show that he's putting on. So then what happened is that there were several people who were recording this. One person who was recording this was an elderly lady, handicapped lady on crutches. She sometimes comes to Speaker's Corner as well, and she's known as Amy. And this lady was standing across the road from Tan and was recording him, how he was, pulling off his performance. And another gentleman saw this, and he was also fascinated. And it seems he was not in any way associated with Tan or Amy or anyone else. And he just saw this, and he pulled out his phone, and he was recording, and he was laughing. He understood the irony. He understood the entire thing, and the whole, with a sense of humor, because that's what it's all about. It's humor. It's not angry. It's not anything. You need to understand this. And this is why Tan, in my eyes, is so brilliant, because he's not violent. He's not aggressive. He's not threatening anybody. He's just doing it passively for himself, showing the people how ridiculous it is that they are prostrating to an unseen God when he is prostrating to his can of tango. So what is happening is lots of people are now getting, I don't know, riled up about this, that Tan is stopping some Muslims. Now, he has the same identical right of being on the street, getting down on his knees, putting something in front of him, and then pretending like he's prostrating to some superior power. The same as what the Muslims are doing. So there is no difference. I don't understand why anybody should go to town and say, no, you're not allowed to do that. The Muslims behind you are allowed to do that. That doesn't work. Okay, so now the Muslims, I mean, they're not like Tan. They're not passive. They're not pacifists. They're violent. They get aggressive. So they go and they grab Tan physically. And this is what is called assault and then battery, because they drag him, push him, and shove him out of the way so that he needs to stop. And then when he does not do a thing, he just carries on saying a woman goes and tells the guy to stop pushing Tan. Now along comes like a real brute, a thug with a dog, with a pug or whatever this is. And he goes up to Amy, slams her phone out of her hand without warning. I don't know what the fuck his problem is. How can he go to an elderly lady who's just holding a phone? The left is on a crutch and the right hand is holding a phone, and he hits the phone. And then when she wants to grab the phone back and catch it as it's flying through midair, he hits her on the side of the head and he punches her so hard that she's knocked out. Then she goes down on the floor, and she's out cold, and then she slowly comes to, then people attend to her, and he just buggers off, melts into the crowd and goes away. Now, fortunately, this was caught on camera. And now this is what the whole story is about, that people are now going to see who this guy is, because, I mean, this is on video, it's been recorded, it's in public view, so there is no reason that the police do not go and investigate this. And this is a clear form of assault and battery. And there is nothing that you can argue about this. There is nothing that you can do to put it into a context which would make it any better. So this is where I think somebody who wasn't really involved, who just thinks that the people who are praying, who are Muslims, are allowed to do that, and somebody else who is not a Muslim is not. And this is the brainwashing that we, the public, has gone through. These are the double standards that we have become accustomed to. This is what we have been subjected to, that people think it's okay what Muslims are doing because it is religious. This is what Christopher Hitchens used to say. You can get away with anything that you want. All you need to do is call yourself a reverend or a pastor or a rabbi or something. Nobody will question you. You have special privileges, special rights, special everything. And this is exactly what is happening. If you call yourself a Muslim today, you're allowed to do anything. I remember I used to have a friend who was Jewish. And when he got stopped, for speeding or something, he said, "Are you stopping me because I'm Jewish?" And a lot of times the people will let him get away because they are too scared, of being called anti-Semitic or something. So he's abusing the system. And he was laughing about this. He says, people are so stupid, but they are so scared of being anti-Semitic that they would rather let me get away than give me a fine. And that is exactly what is happening now, where somebody says, "Are you stopping me because I'm a Muslim?" Because Muslim apologists have managed to somehow associate Muslim with, number one, religion, and not political ideology, but religion. And the second thing is peaceful. And both are very, very wrong. Islam is not peaceful. Yes, you can interpret it so that it represents something peaceful, but you can just as well, and it's 50-50, you can just as well interpret it to be something violent. So it is not inherently peaceful, just as it's not inherently violent. It is both. It's a matter of interpretation. It's a matter of how you read the text and what the context is. So this is, yeah, I know, and religion is just making me aware. So I'm going to stop my rant just now. I'm just going through the chat, because I'm always very much in favor of going through the chat and, you know, answering questions and going through what the people are saying. Okay, so what do you think of the street epistemology for your show? Okay, we've done that a couple of times. I think street epistemology is probably the most, what do you want to call it? It's the most proficient, it's the most convincing, it's the best of anything to convince anyone that there's something wrong with their belief. The problem with street epistemology is that you need to have somebody who is somewhat educated. You can't do it with some of the people who are so indoctrinated that they will simply not follow any of your reasoning. I went, like last week, I said I went to a mosque and I asked the people, okay, well, how do you handle all the mistakes in the Quran? And they said, obviously, well, there is no mistake in the Quran. So I said, okay, if the Quran said 1 + 1 = 3, and in reality, we have 1 + 1 = 2, if you are confronted with a decision, how would you decide? Would you trust the Quran more than mathematics? And they said yes. So if the Quran said 1 + 1 = 3, they would more trust the Quran saying 1 + 1 = 3 than reality saying 1 + 1 = 2. So as soon as you have that kind of a brainwash, you can't use street epistemology. It's impossible. It doesn't. There's no hook. There's nothing to attach itself to. It's like a lotus effect. There's nothing there. It will just, you know, bounce off, and that's it. So street epistemology is absolutely bloody brilliant, but you need some sort of basic understanding of rationality and logics. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Okay, then you have to get Kenny Bummer on the Jinn&Tonic show. And by the way, I think, well, I don't know. He's now trying to get out of it again, because it was supposed to happen last week. Then he said it was raining, so we can't have the show. And now this week he says it's definitely on, and he got Muhammad Ali, because I'm invisible. Okay, I'm anonymous. I am the man without a face. I'm totally I'm not anonymous. I'm here. I exist. I'm real. So I'm not anything, and I'm definitely not invisible. People can't see me. It's just I'm not visible to the people on the Jinn&Tonic show or on YouTube. But otherwise, I can assure you, people can see me and people don't bump into me or something. And I cannot sneak into girls' locker rooms and watch them changing, because I am not invisible. So he's saying he's got Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali for him is a real person. He doesn't understand what he is saying, that he is debating me, Mr. Invisible, somebody without a real name, and the moderator is Muhammad Ali. And he doesn't understand the irony. He doesn't see this. Anyway, so this is what he says. So we're going to be debating something. I'm not quite sure yet what. And this is supposed to happen tomorrow. But I mean, it was supposed to happen in June. Then it was supposed to happen, I don't know when. And now it was last week, and then he ran away again. And then now it's supposed to happen tomorrow evening. And now suddenly he's proposing, well, let's use a different software platform. And I said, no, I want you people that if you want to, you can be part of it. You can watch this. And I am not going into some secret conferencing software. No, I want this out in public. You guys can watch this. It's going to be on a Hangout. And I'm not going to install some software I don't know, where I need to learn the software first before I can do something. No. And that's why it's going to stay here. It doesn't matter what he says. All right, so Kenny Bummer is not going to be here today. And they're trying to take over London, absolutely. Public show of force, that's what I just explained. I totally agree with this, yeah. Excuse me, Saudi Arabia, Independence Day coming up, really? I didn't even know that. If a woman was walking from the prayer, okay, there's a couple of things here. No, a woman is not really that sufficient. There are different opinions. Remember, everything is about interpretation. She would have to be openly declaring that she's menstruating and then be walking from them, or it should be a black dog or something like this, or if you have a donkey, then it would be invalid. So they can still pray. They can still wave to their God and say, hello, God, I'm here, blah, I'm a good boy. It's just that they wouldn't get their 5 points. I've explained the point system in a different show. So the prayer not being accepted means they wouldn't get their points. But God would still see their bum up in the air and still say, yep, good boy, good girl, whatever. And by the way, this mosque that I was at, they said that they are very modern and very up-to-date, very much part of the 21st century, but there were no women. The women were upstairs, invisible. They had their separate door. They were not allowed to go through the main door. They had to use a side door with a staircase going up to the top, and they were upstairs, yak, 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 giggling and laughing and having fun. So for them, this is more a social event than anything else, and that's good. Brilliant. Nothing wrong with that. But they are separate from the men because they're not allowed to have any contact because the men can't control themselves. So, okay, no mainstream media covered the situation. We're talking about Tan again. Peace be upon him. They wanted someone to complain about them blocking the street. They wanted someone to act so they could try Islamophobia. Yeah, that's exactly the case. There's a lot of people who just want to get this word Islamophobia out there. They want this word out there. They want this associated with people who are complaining or critiquing or in any way looking at the bad ideas in Islam and the Quran. Okay, so the water of Tan, exactly, this is tango. And, well, Raspek got his wake-up call. Abu Talaj and the Muslims, they called him a kufar. Well, Raspek, in my eyes, is a total fool, okay? I mean, what he did in the show with hijab, I mean, that was really, okay, it was poor. Okay, how he can say that an actor cannot act gay, he must be gay before he can act gay. That is totally stupid. An actor can pretend that he's laughing without, feeling funny, and an actor can pretend and act to be dead without actually being dead. I mean, that's okay. Anyway, Muslims want the kafir to walk around in a small space. Yeah, I'm saying this is pushing everybody out. This is boring. You need Raj on the show. Okay. I can agree, you need to help the show. Atheists are in trouble. Yeah, we are. We're definitely in trouble. There's more and more atheists all the time, more and more people who are relieving themselves of the shackles of this God control, and then we are in trouble. It's funny how many people don't really, I mean, people are telling me I'm an atheist. I'm not an atheist because people don't know what an atheist is. I'm being told, well, you are claiming that there is no God and that's why you're an atheist. I'm not doing that. So this is the whole thing. That's why I am not calling myself an atheist. I'm a normal human being without a God belief, and that's it. Okay, I'm not lacking anything. I'm not part of any ism. So I'm not part of atheism, and that's it. Okay, what else we got? Is Tan Nuts the Tan God? I just watched, if this is on the live show. Yeah, okay, I'm not going to show the video or anything. And good order arrived at left, right. Go live media, delete that stream, go live. What? The ego of respects out of control, so the other side to wear the brainwash, which is okay. I is an atheist. Okay. Oh boy. Okay, welcome to Why So Religious. He is on the panel today. He's doing his own thing. We are going to be talking about Islam and the six beliefs. And because Why So Religious has a lot of background knowledge and a lot of knowledge on Islam, I really appreciate that he's here today. Why So Religious? Do you want to say something, or should I go straight in and introduce the six beliefs, give a definition, show what they are and what they're not?
I'll just say that George W. Bush was the first Muslim apologist with Islam is peace, a broken sentence, you know. But you can go ahead with it.
Okay, but if I mean this was me just doing an intro now, just looking. Oh, Harris, what are you doing here? Come on, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. How can you be? I mean, it's Saturday. My goodness, no, it's Sunday for you. Sunday morning, and no, it's hang on, it's Friday, it's Saturday morning for you. What are you doing up at this time of the day? Welcome, Harris. Excited to this. Yeah. Brilliant. This is what I call dedication. Thank you very much. Then if you want to jump in, Religious, then just go and give us your opinion. Well, what is your view of what happened with Tan?
It's definitely assault and battery, as far as we call it in the U.S. I doubt that they'll ever catch the person. Just my personal opinion. I don't see why they would. Like a coward, the person just walked away. From the angle that I saw, it was hard to see if the woman put hands on him necessarily to like try to separate between Tan and the guy. I almost said gentleman. I almost fucked up right there. But it's hard to tell if she did touch him and then he responded, you know, with a punch, which would still be out of character and not, you know, not useful at all. It shouldn't have progressed to that, because a lot of times people try to separate other people, and that doesn't mean that they deserve to get punched. But yeah, I think it's disgusting. You know, one thing was he wasn't even among the people praying, as far as I know, and he had a dog too. So it's hard to tell if he's a Muslim, you know, because, you know, there's a lot of rules against not having dogs to a lot of people. And then, you know, Muhammad backtracks and says that it's only black dogs that you can't have. So, you know, it's just, it's hit or miss if that guy was just some random person trying to intervene and white knight, as they say, or if he felt like he was being disrespected because of his religion or whatnot. It's hard. Okay. It's hard to tell.
Scarlet Fox is just saying Amy's attacker has been charged with assault.
Oh, so, wow. I'm surprised they caught him.
Scarlet, do you have any more information than just speculation that somebody actually found him? Because I did the same thing as what Religious just said. I said I would bet something that nothing will ever come of this, that they somehow they will say, well, we never found him, or blah, blah, because they're not going to go to great lengths to find the guy. Because there's a lot of people, even cops, who will say, well, she had it coming because she was asking for it for standing there and recording this and in some way associating with Tan. So this is...
Well, we have multiple people now saying that he has been caught, not just one person. So,
okay, Scarlett, if you have anything more, please let us know, because I think this is really interesting. If there really is something factual, okay, not just speculation, but something factual that we can say, yep, no, Amy was pushing people. Okay. How I don't understand this. She has a crutch on the left, a camera on the right. How exactly is she pushing people? I don't quite understand this.
I think it's different.
Violence. How is standing in a street recording somebody that she knows, how is that provoking violence? I do not understand it. If she was dancing around and saying, please punch me, please punch me, please punch me, yes, then I would understand that. But she was standing there recording Tan, and that was it.
There's a difference between pushing people and trying to separate people and trying to, you know, let cooler heads prevail, as we say in America. But, you know, when you put hands on somebody, even just to try to separate two people, then it becomes a legality question of, are you allowed to even intervene? You're supposed to call the cops and stuff. Not saying that I'm siding with either person here. I'm just bringing up I guess the middle concept.
Well, we have Detective Inspector who says somebody Amy knows recognized him in Soho, and the police eventually reluctantly ended up arresting him. Wow. Okay. Can anybody give me a source? Can anybody give me anything? Because you know me. I mean, I'm not going to accept it on hearsay. G25, yes, I sound different because Rob is working. I don't feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for anybody working. But I'm
something that just popped in my mind, which is kind of weird. In America, if you assault somebody and then they go to the hospital, you can charge them with your healthcare bills and like cripple their whole life. But I would imagine in Europe and like England, you can't really do that. Y'all have a one system pay system, one person pay system, right? So free healthcare.
Yeah.
So he really doesn't feel the effect of that, I guess you would say. It's just something that popped in my head. It's a weird concept.
And it's true. And Go Live Media, I think you need to go and have your head examined, because saying she pushed the woman in the black, no. When the woman in black started hitting her and trying to hit the phone, she deflected the hand. That is not pushing the woman. That is self-defense. And then she pushed the bold man. It's not a bold man. This was a coward. He's not bold. He's bald with an A. Yeah. And she did not push him. She did the same thing. She tried to duck from his hitting her and trying to get the phone out of her hand. Unbelievable. She started pushing. It is on camera, but hit the woman. Not okay.
Well, you're not going to win with Go Live Media. You know that. You're just not going
Corner Skits 2, she started pushing. No, she did not. How can you say that? I don't know. Amy, are you talking about the black woman? Because Amy did not start pushing anyone. Okay, it's on camera. Bloody, I don't understand it. It's there. Disabled woman pushing people. Exactly. That's how crazy it is. Amy must have a third leg, and a third arm and everything. Oh my God! You've only seen one angle. No, I've seen 3 angles so far of the same incident, and every time I just see Amy standing there, and then this woman first goes up to her, tries to punch the camera out of her hand, and then the bald guy comes and tries to punch the camera out of her hand.
So by Go Live Media's logic, I guess you could say, it would have been all right for Tan to turn around and hit the woman in black because Amy got hit by the bald guy. You see where this logic comes from? It's turnaround is fair play, as we say in the US. It's kind of ridiculous, and it never stops. It never gives any form of agency.
Okay. Amy says court date is 18th of October. Thank you very much for this link. Westminster Magistrates Court. Thank you. Anyone else involved? The thug has been arrested. See my tweet of 2 days ago. Proud to say that the patriot who found him is a very dear friend of mine, and she fearlessly went to Soho to find him. Wow. Okay.
Awesome.
That's absolutely fantastic.
I mean, I hate to say congratulations to her because she was put through a traumatic experience, but I'm glad that she's that they're at least attempting a form of justice against the guy.
Wow. Okay. In fairness to Go Live Media, his wife always says she deserves it. Oh my God. Okay. All right. You need to see the full clip of our 10 to 15. Yes, Go Live Media. I've seen several full clips. I've seen Amy's clip, I've seen the gentleman's clip, and I've seen the other clip taken from the third side. So, yeah. Okay. What else should I do?
Silent Walker says, in the U.S., stand your ground and shoot them dead. I mean, I've mentioned this on Titans TV the other day that, in the U.S., when that guy put his hands on Kalam and Kalam just kept on walking, that guy would have got shot probably in the U.S. and that most Americans would say, yep, he was defending himself. So it's just totally different inside of Europe. Y'all have a different way of looking at it. And then a person tried to say, oh, you're supporting somebody getting shot because they hit somebody. Well, hell yeah. That's how we are in America. You don't know who has a gun, who has a knife. If they hit you once, then they might pull a knife on you, especially in London. Y'all have a hell of a problem with knife attacks right now, it seems like. So yeah, I mean, in America, we'll just shoot first, say that we felt frightened for our life, and call a lawyer. We'll be out on bail that very day. Screw it. You know, that's
in
just
South
the
Africa
culture,
too.
I guess.
In South Africa, they said, look, if you're asking for shit, then you will. And this is the problem. If you are doing something illegal in South Africa, you stand a chance of getting hurt, of getting damaged, of
Hmm.
getting whatever it is. And this is the thing. This is the stance that we have in South Africa. Don't mess with other people. If you mess with other people, you might get hurt. So don't. If you don't want to get hurt, don't mess with other people. That's how easy it is. And I think this is the same what you are just saying. So there's not only in the US, it's like that. So I think it's okay.
If I may
Anything else
just
that we want
respond
to talk
to
on this?
Lily Cuervo logic, she asked why I put every statement in America, because there's a huge culture gap with America and a lot of parts of the world, even with Canada and Mexico, you know, and I feel like it's pretty relevant a lot of time. Like when I think it was last week when talking about free speech, I even had to ask Stops if he feels like there's a difference in free speech, American stance and Europe stance. So
What did I
that's why
say?
I say in America a lot.
And I said, abso-fucking-lutely. There's a huge difference because the First Amendment in the States, I mean, come on, US is the most basic and the most brilliant constitution in the whole planet. And of all the countries that I know, the US Constitution is the most brilliant. The problem is that a lot of presidents in the past have started rolling back, especially Obama. I mean, Obama did a lot of good things, but he also tried to protect people and said, okay, the price that you need to pay for protection is that you lose some of your rights. And I disagree strongly. But a lot of rights, especially free speech, has been curbed. And the Fourth Amendment, in particular, is being raped left, right, and center. This is the problem in the States, that in theory you have the Constitution, but in practice you don't, not any longer. And the thing is that in other countries where you have, I mean, a lot of people think that in the UK, for example, you have Speaker's Corner and you are allowed to say what you want in Speaker's Corner, but not outside of Speaker's Corner. That's bullshit. Okay, you have free speech everywhere. You have freedom of expression everywhere in the whole country. It's just that in Speaker's Corner, this is where people historically, okay, have gone and congregated and made it into political speech, even allowing themselves to be criticizing the Queen and the government and everything, which was absolutely taboo 100 years ago. And this is where this Speaker's Corner thing started, that they said, well, we're going to be like very careful and very subservient to the Queen, but not in Speaker's Corner. There we can criticize the government. But it doesn't mean that outside of Speaker's Corner, you don't have free speech.
Well, I mean, I don't want to, you know, divert or whatever from the main topic, but you know, if you want to come on my show sometime and we can discuss that, I don't believe that England has free speech. You know, it just, there's too many people getting persecuted for memes or whatnot, getting persecuted for online quote unquote hate crime or harassments. And I don't think that y'all have it. And I don't want to take up the Showtime debating that, but I just wanted to say, I just don't believe your statement there. Y'all have a form of it, in my opinion, but you don't really have it. And you're willing to let people of certain groups come in and say things that cannot be said.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I have to agree with that. Yeah. So you have, but it's just like in the US, you have free speech, but you don't really have it. So it's the same in the UK, where you have free speech, but you don't really have it, because that's why I said it's being curbed more and more and more, so that the free speech concept is being undermined more and more. So unfortunately, you are right. I hate it that you're right, and I hate to agree with you, but yeah, that's the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, It's fine. I just don't see it as much as I see it in America. I can't have a cop come up to me and say, "Oh, well, we have this tweet from you and it says this and that," and it offended a lot of people and they want to say it's a hate crime. I don't have to deal with that. I never will have to.
Yeah, but it's going there. This is the problem. This is the whole thing. Because what Twitter is doing, I mean, how dare they stop what's this called? I have a block. Not independent media. What is the guy Jones?
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. There you go.
Wars.
How can they close him down? I mean, this is American companies closing down an entire channel, a person who was an actor who was, acting like he was like really crazy about all the things that were in the government in the US, and they're just closing him down. So this is also a curbing of free speech in the States, the way that I see it anyway.
Well, I mean, it's just like it's not, it wouldn't be ABC's, NBC's, CNN's, Fox. It wouldn't be their job to give him a platform. Okay, just like it's not Twitter's job to give him a platform, or YouTube, or anybody. Now, that doesn't say that I agree with the way he's been treated. I'm just saying they don't have to give him anything that he wants. It's if he was making them as much money as FloozyTube on YouTube, or who else would be another one, or if he had as many followers as Donald Trump, he wouldn't be getting kicked off because he'd be making them more money.
But don't give me this bullshit story saying that he is propagating hate speech.
I agree. That's bullshit.
Trump lies more than Alex Jones, and yet he is allowed to be on Twitter. So don't give me this reasoning that, but he's lying and it's all this hate. And no, that's wrong. If you don't like him, sure, it's your. You are a private company. You're allowed to do whatever you want. So if you want to kick Alex Jones off, then by all means do so. But don't lie to me and tell me that it's because of X. No, it's because you don't want the content.
Yeah, because you hate the guy.
So, and it's not the job of Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook to kick somebody off looking, at what they are saying and then selectively kicking somebody off if they don't like this opinion. And this is what I am so against, that it doesn't matter whether he's talking absolute shit. It doesn't matter. Let him say his piece, and it's up to me to decide whether or not it is true or not. It's up to me to decide what is correct and what is not Twitter. And this is the entire thing. Twitter is now telling me they are looking out for me. They are making sure that what I am allowed to think is what I am actually thinking. And what I'm thinking and allowed to be thinking, that's good thinking. That's wrong. That is very wrong, and I hate it. Okay, Rob is probably coming on later. I do not know. It depends on how long he has to work. All right, shall we go a little bit into Islam?
Let's do it.
What I would like to talk about today a little bit is, it's called 6 Articles of Faith, okay? So these are the most, the fundamental beliefs which every Muslim must have and must ascribe to and must somehow take on in order to be a Muslim. And I'm not talking about the practices, the 5 pillars, the faith, prayer, charity, fasting, pilgrimage. I'm not talking about that. This is not the 6, what are they called, kalimas from Southeast Asia. Sorry?
The pillars of Islam.
No, I'm not talking about the pillars.
Right. That's what I was saying.
The 5 pillars. And I'm not talking about the 6 kalimas. Because this is, what is it? Faith. Oh my God, the majesty of God, the oneness of God, the repentance, the purity, and that you reject anything that has to do with kufr. Hang on, let me just see, because I just see the red thing there. Why don't you come onto the Jinn&Tonic show tonight? Challenge the Muslim, but you two are scared. Yeah, that one, man, this is always the problem. people are too scared, and if they do come on, they're talking absolute shit. So yeah, it's very difficult. All right, so I'm not talking about the pillars of faith. I'm not talking about the kalimas. I'm not talking about this, but I'm talking about the 6 articles of faith. All right, faith is Arabic iman. This is the faith, iman, and this is something that you need to have as a Muslim, because like I said just now, if the Quran would or were to say 1 + 1 = 3, then the iman tells them this is correct, even if reality says no, it's not. And if you go there and you say no, it's not, then you're an Islamophobic asshole or something. What are you? I don't know what you are. Anyway, but they have to bring in this Islamophobe in there anyway. So where does it come from? It says that, and it's not the imam with an M at the end, which is the prayer leader, okay? And the imam also is not the person who is the most knowledgeable. He's just somebody who leads the prayer. Anybody can be an imam. So don't make that mistake. A lot of imams are, however, the ones who are most knowledgeable. They are the ones that you turn to if you have a question regarding Islam. And if they don't know, they will go to the imam conference. And then the imams decide on something. And if they can't decide, they go to the scholars, and then you go to the scholar conference. And that's where it ends. Okay, that's why you have the madhabs, for example, because you had Mr. Shafi. Okay, you have different people who have decided the interpretation of the Quran should be this. This is why you will always hear how Muslims follow a sheikh or some scholar, because they're not allowed to think for themselves. When somebody challenged, when Jamie challenged, no, was it Jamie? I can't remember. Challenged hijab with the mistake in the Quran regarding inheritance. He says, well, I will not comment on this. I need to ask my elders. So he has to go and ask somebody how he is allowed to respond, because he needs to interpret the Quran and he's not allowed to. So somebody else must do it for him. And this is the problem in Islam, that you are not allowed to think. So you are not allowed to, you're not taught how to think, but what to think. So they give you what you are allowed to say, what you are allowed to do, and you are not allowed to decide that by yourself. And this is why the Imam says that Iman, okay, this is the faith, is that you believe in God, the angels, the books, the messengers, and the hereafter, and the good and evil fate ordained by your God. And this is the hadith of Gabriel. This is a very famous hadith, which is attributed to Gabriel, where he says this, and this is being said by Muhammad following what Gabriel said. So the 6 articles of faith or beliefs, the number one thing, of course, is Allah. And this is supposed to be the only God. Now, why you would have the attribute, the one and only God, and you're not allowed to worship other gods, and he is the best of the creators and the best of everything, I don't understand this. If there is only one God, you don't have to say this is the only God. If this is the only God and the only creator God, you can't say it is the best of the creators, because it's automatically the worst as well, if there is only one. So it doesn't make sense. So the first thing that you must believe is that there is this God, and it's the only God. And you must say it's the only God, because all the other gods that are not there, you need to reject. The second thing is you need to believe that angels exist. Because remember, this God, this Allah, doesn't need or want or desire anything. He's just chilling, hanging out every day in the morning, because they keep earth time in heaven. Okay, where he lives, this God lives somewhere, which is 50,000 light years away, vertically above the Kaaba. So it's spinning around there like crazy. And where he lives, they keep daytime. So they have the same sun we have. And when the sun goes under his throne, then he knows it's nighttime. Then God, I don't know if he sleeps or not. And then every morning, I don't know how the sun knows that it's morning, but every morning the sun goes to God and says, now it's morning. Do you allow me to go back over earth and do my round there? And God says, yep, sun, Go and do your thing, do your orbit around Earth, and then come back in the evening when you're done, and then you go and sleep under my throne again. And every morning, after the sun has done that, when the sun is, buggered off down and goes around Earth, this God, who doesn't desire, want, or need anything, creates 70,000 angels. Just like that. Out of nothing. Because he doesn't need
light, sir.
What?
He makes them out of light.
Oh, he makes the light like, like from nothing.
Tabari has the stories where it's saying that like the sun and the moon were both made from light out of Allah's throne, and it suggested that angels are made from Allah's throne of light also. Just saying the myth of ancient Muslims, if you will, how they believed angels came to be.
Yes. And this is the point. I mean, God doesn't want anything, but he creates 70,000 angels from out of light, from out of nothing. Well, the light comes out of nothing from his throne, or I don't know how he does it. Every morning, he gets another 70,000 angels every single morning, and he's done so since eternity. Okay. Now, can you imagine how many angels? What happens to all these angels in the evening?
What did they do before? Because it also says that they send them down to make Hajj to the Kaaba, and then they come back or whatever. What did they do before the Kaaba was built? I mean, to me, that's just interesting. They're all just like waiting in a marathon line, waiting for their turn for Allah to have somebody build the Kaaba. And then it's like, all right, yeah, you go. And then the other angels are like waiting in anticipation. They're like, nope, you got to wait one more day. When you see the sun come up under Allah's throne, that's your time. It makes it makes no sense.
And Indigo is making, I mean, this is a fascinating point. I mean, this is a whole show. Maybe we should go do a whole show. Because he's saying that angel and amen have the same. Why are you retracting that? That is interesting. I don't know why, Indigo, why did you retract that? That was fascinating. Okay. Then I need to explain it myself. In Islam, you have this thing that you have tables, which the Indians came up with, where each letter of the alphabet has a certain value. And this value, this is going into numerical miracles, okay, into numerics. And these numerical miracles, oh my God, that's difficult. Say numerical miracles.
I refuse.
Anyway, so these numerical fucking hell,
numerical
miracles. I'm drinking coffee. Numerical miracles, they come from this geometric value. Okay, so you have tables with certain numbers, and then you have. So this is where I don't know. I think I've talked about Rashid Khalifa, the guy who declared himself a prophet, who came up with the 19 miracle and blah blah. So he came up with this whole thing, and he started this, and now he's saying that there is another, or numerology. Is that what it's called? Really, numerology? Okay. So numerology. This is going into numerology, and it's crazy. It's really fascinating how they come up with all these different numbers. And he says that angel and amen has the same value. Okay, I think we should do a show on this, because this is so fascinating. The miracle of 19. Anyway, so angels, 70,000 fresh angels every morning. Where it doesn't really say, well, not really, it doesn't say at all what happens to them in the evening or where they go. But this is not enough. So he creates humans as well. But first of all, you need to believe that there are angels. The main one being Gabriel, who comes acts as a go-between, because the legend has it that God created the Qur'an before everything else, and then reads the Qur'an, then waits a couple of million, zillion, trillion years, then creates the first humans, waits another 300,000 years, then creates a whole lot of other things, and then comes along and says, okay, now you need to go and find a guy somewhere on the planet. I don't know if God specified where to go and whom to find, or whether Gabriel just went around until it found somebody in a cave. Anyway, Gabriel went to Muhammad.
Sorry.
What?
It was just the way you said it was funny to me.
Okay, well, I don't know. Look, I don't know how this happened. I mean, there is no record really of what happened. I mean, it would have been so much easier, if he would have sent somebody down, somebody's dash cam would have picked it up and somebody would have seen this and, everything would have made a lot more sense. But God didn't know that there would be dash cams now, so he just did it. And then Muhammad got a visitor in the cave made from light, and this light could take him and squeeze him. And then this angel then talked to him and gave him each sentence that he got from God. So God writes the Quran 50 zillion trillion years ago, reads a sentence to this angel. The angel zooms off to earth, repeats the sentence to Muhammad, and zooms back up to heaven. Or down, where's it? Heaven, to heaven. Up, down, left, right, who cares? To heaven. Picks up the next sentence, zooms back down to earth, gives Muhammad the next sentence. Now, why he doesn't send a book, or why he needs a book, why he needs this whole complicated process of giving each sentence to Gabriel and sort of giving the Quran and the message, the guidance to humans piecemeal, nobody has ever explained to me. But
what if it's that because Gabriel, because according to various belief in Islam, the Quran is in a preserved slate inside of heaven, a paradise. Yeah. So what if like Gabriel was forgetting some of the passages on his way down? So he's like, hold on, Muhammad, let me go back up there and read the next line and I'll bring it back down to
yeah.
I never thought of that, but that's pretty funny to me. It's like he's the middleman trying to pass on Allah's words, but it's like a game of telephone. He just can't really remember exactly how it goes. It's like, and that's why you have abrogation. He's like, look, Muhammad, I kind of messed up on the last line, so I'll be right back.
Get out the Tipex and erase the last one in your brain. Yeah. And then, of course, I mean, Simon James is making, I think it's Jamie, making a huge point here because there's 124,000 messengers, and Muhammad was the best that Allah could find or create. I mean, Allah created all the messengers and created Muhammad, and then decided that Muhammad was the best messenger of them all, and then sends Gabriel and does everything, and he does his thing. So this is the main angel. So there's different types of angels. Now, other types of angels. Now, yes, so this is 10 years ago. You have, I think it's 12 angels constantly following you around, spying on you, constantly, 24/7. Because what you need to do is you need to have an angel on your left shoulder telling you the good things. No, sorry. The right shoulder telling you the good things, the left shoulder telling you the bad things. An angel on the right side recording the good things, on the left side recording the bad things. But you need to have them duplicate in case the one forgets and the other one needs to get in, needs to go to the loo or something, that one stays. And you need 2 more angels, and I can't remember for what. This is 10 years ago. I don't know. There was something
not really in the Quran. That would be more hadith. So I can't really attest to that because I study mostly just the Quran, and then I'll look at hadith every once in a while. But that's as far as like some 12 angels. I don't know about that.
Anyway, so angels play a huge role in recording everything because God somehow seems to forget what happened or what will happen or what is happening, because God is all-knowing. So it creates humans to worship it, knowing while it's creating this human out of clay or dust or water or whatever, that this human will in 80 years die as, I don't know, a Sikh. And then says, I will kill all Sikhs because I will send them all to hell because they were Sikhs. Knowing while it's creating this guy that this guy will be a Sikh when he dies. So he knows in advance what this guy will be. But just to be sure, he sends a couple of angels along with him. Now, one thing is in embryology, okay? This is something that Dr. Moore has forgotten to mention, that there's an angel who on day 42 records what the situation is with this embryo, and that it will determine what the gender is, it will determine the fate, it will determine everything in its future. So at that time, God could still change things, I reckon, but doesn't. So if that embryo is going to be a Sikh embryo, not a Sikh, a Sikh or a Hindu or whatever, nothing is happening, and it will go ahead because God knows this is going to be a Sikh embryo and a Sikh man who is going to die as a Sikh. So he is producing babies to go to hell. Great.
Well, that goes down. That goes down to what is it? The sixth article of faith that you haven't got to yet.
No, I haven't got to know that. That's
yeah. I'm just saying that's a part of that.
But now the angel, and this is the point, the angel determines this. The angel records this, and yet, even though God knows in advance, the angel records it on day 42 or 50. There's different versions, different hadiths saying day 40, day 42, day 45, or day 50. Even though God knows, the angel knows, now it's been recorded in the book of everything, and the pen has written it since this is the beginning of existence. And now still angels need to go and accompany and record everything. And even though the angels record everything, when you die, your kneecap is asked, listen, what did you do with your kneecap in your life? I mean, okay, I'm not going to comment on this. This is the way it is, and this is what Muslims must believe. The next thing is, how do they know this? Well, the next, number 3, is the belief in holy books. And notice it's plural. Because in Islam, you have the Quran as the primary text. Then as a secondary, you have the Sunnah. And then as a tertiary, you have the commentators, you have the tafsirs, you have the scholars, and blah, blah, blah. But the primary book is the Quran. The Quran was given to Muhammad, sentence by sentence by sentence, and then given to the rest of the world. Now, the problem is that the Quran says that the previous book, the Injil, the New Testament, was given to Jesus, which is absolute nonsense because Jesus never wrote anything. Other people wrote something about a guy called Jesus. But this Jesus of the New Testament is not the Isa in the Quran, because they are separated by something like 1,000 years. So how this works together, I have no idea. But Muslims need to believe it anyway. So they need to believe that all these books, where the first one was, funny enough, Moses, was given the first version. Then they corrupted it, which God didn't know. So he didn't create the humans in order to not corrupt his book, but he created the humans in order to create the book, so that he had a reason to bring Isa and Jesus and all the others. And then they got the messages, and then they managed to get everything wrong, which of course he didn't know. And then finally he came up with Muhammad, and now he set everything straight. And this is the last version of all the books that you need to believe in. But if you don't understand something, you still need to go, ask the people of the book, who are the Jews and probably the Christians, maybe yes, maybe no. We don't really know. There are different interpretations, and they are supposed to know what the Muslims don't know, even though they manage to corrupt the books.
Well, here's the thing. As far as the Quran stating things, it's like at 5 let's see here, like 5:13, it's essentially saying they distort the meaning of words and have forgotten some of what they were told, talking about the Jews and the Torah and such. So what I've always taken this as, it's not that the books are corrupted, and you can't really find that in the Quran. What it is it's saying that they manipulated the Torah to their own meanings. And you can find this also at 541, where it says in Pickthall that listeners to the sacred falsehood, listeners on behalf of other folk who come not into the changing words from their context. Okay. So it's not saying that they've actually changed the book. It's just saying that they've changed certain words and their meanings. And you can look at
The
that
message.
at 5. Yes. And then 513 Pickthall. They change words from their context and forget a part. So it's never the how Muslims try to portray it. I always hear Muslims try to portray it that it's been corrupted. If Allah wanted to say that the books have been corrupted, he would have used that phrase. Instead, he just says that they distort meanings of words, and some of them have been forgotten, and that Muhammad was sent here on earth with the message to fill in the parts that have been forgotten, because that's what Allah wanted to be forgotten until Muhammad came. Such as, you could use, if you follow hadith and tafsirs, you could use this example that I'm talking about with the people of the cave. Even though you don't get a straight answer about it, it's still an answer that allegedly the Jews knew of, and that Muhammad filled them in. Or Dhul Qarnayn, allegedly it's what the people who were believers knew of, but Muhammad filled in the story.
Yeah. Do you believe in reincarnation and resurrection?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, no.
I do. Because Abu was back.
I mean, I don't believe in any of this stuff. You know,
Well, I now do, because Abu has returned.
When a person dies, I just believe that's it. It's over. And now, of course, even energy itself.
What do you do now?
Pardon?
He's back. He's here.
Abu Lolo? Or
no. Abu Molhid, Scandinavia.
I'm not sure I know who that is, bud.
Oh, really? Has he been gone that long?
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is.
That's why I said he's just been resurrected. Oh, there, you see, academics reasoning. Abu has returned. Exactly. What happened while I was gone? Exactly. This is because he was gone for so long. Yeah, everything is different now. We have flying cars now, and we use telekinetics, and so everything has changed. Yeah, it's true. Why? So religious knows Abu Molhid. Yeah, exactly. Okay, then let me paste the link to him. Then he can say hi to everybody in person. Okay. Shall we go to the next one? So we've done the holy books. There's a lot of them, and we need to accept simply that.
And I just wanted to correct one thing. Hadith and tafsirs are not technically articles of faith. Now, those explain various things, but I'm even looking at the Islamic Ummah.org. And, you know, they have links to Al-Bukhari and Al-Muslim and such. But the books are actually the Torah, Psalms, and Gospels, and the Quran.
Okay, now, is that what I made it sound?
Yes, you also mentioned Hadith and tafsirs.
No. I just explained that there are different levels, and only the top level is considered to be a holy book.
Okay, 10-4.
Okay, the next thing is belief in the prophets. Like we've had. Oh, there's Abu Molhid. Welcome, Abu. Welcome back. Do you want to comment on anything that we've said on the 6 beliefs?
Hello. I have no idea what you've been talking about.
Okay,
I have no idea what has happened.
Then shut up. Okay. Welcome back. It's good to have you back, man. I mean, you've been gone like half a year or something, right? Or even longer.
No, not half a year. What is it? 3 months, maybe.
Oh, why does it seem so long? I have had 3 crowns in the meantime. Maybe that's why. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Belief in the prophets. We've just heard there were thousands of prophets, and the legend goes that in Islam, every prophet has been given the same message. That is, there is only one God, and this is the God of Islam. And it's just that some people, as Why So Religious has just explained, have decided to change some of the contents of this so that the original concept of the one and only God has been changed so that suddenly the Jews have Ezra and the Christians have Jesus, and suddenly the gods have children, which reminds everybody of the Greek and Roman gods that we used to have where they had entire families. So this was the belief in the prophets, that you need to believe that a lot of them existed and they were all given the same message. And the purpose of a prophet is to tell other people the good news that there's a God, and if you don't worship him, he's going to put you in hell. And he's going to do that, and this is now the fifth belief, which is belief in the day of judgment. This is what Why So Religious was just talking about. And that is that there will be the day of judgment, because God does not really remember what happened and why and when and how you were created. So what happens is your skin, your elbow, your whatever is going to talk and say, this is what this guy has been up to. This is what this girl has been up to. And then Jesus is going to come and say, yep, you're a good person. Go upstairs. No, you're a bad person. Downstairs. Day of judgment also means that all the bones of all the people who have died in the meantime will be reassembled. Now, this is a logical dilemma, because if you have had a heart transplant, will you, or the bone has been remanufactured or something? I mean, there's lots of different possibilities. Will you be fitted with the original one or not? So will you go there with a broken heart, or are you going to have the new heart? What happens if you have two hearts? What happens if you have your original heart and an artificial heart? So there's lots of little things that don't make sense.
No pig hearts. No pig hearts. Okay. What about when Muhammad goes on the day of resurrection and allegedly that angels cut into his chest and took out evil from his heart? Does he get his childhood heart? Does he get the first heart after they took it out, or when it was corrupted again, do they take it the second time? It's a good question.
And if you have something, I mean, there's a lot of illnesses where you lose entire limbs. What happens? Are all those illnesses simply gone? I mean, it doesn't say anywhere. What happens if you have an artificial arm because it was cut off? Are you going to have your original one back? I mean, there's a lot of questions. If you have, what is leprosy? I think this is where your limbs simply rot. So what happens with that?
It's like I imagine Jack Daniels on the day of judgment. He has both his legs, but then one of his legs says he kicked a safe and I got gangrene and they had to cut me off.
Yeah.
What a great story. Here's the one thing about it. It would be a great telling of various stories throughout history if people's body parts really did explain what happened. You know, a lot of he stepped on something rusty and I got and he didn't get a tetanus shot, so I got I had this part fall off. I got sick. It's pretty funny to me when you think of it like that. Just a line of millions and billions of people just standing around, their hands saying, "Oh well, he reached into it," like that guy who they made the movie 128 Hours for. Like, what happened to your arm? Oh, he was bike riding carelessly and he got stuck and he had to chop it off. It's just kind of funny to me.
Well, I mean, when I left the Serena, I noticed that when I was walking across the courtyard, I was walking across a human being. Okay, he'd blown himself up, and I knew this because I saw a finger lying there. And this is when I realized the stuff that I was stepping on were bits and pieces of human. So if those pieces were now stuck to my shoe and I was walking out, what happened to those pieces? Is that gone forever? Is this, if somebody blows themselves up, I mean, there's lots of things that can happen. Will all these pieces be found again and put together and resurrected, and this guy is going to be reassembled and recreated using all the old parts? And okay, this is crazy. I mean, all the thought experiments that you can build around this day of judgment regarding humans is crazy. But another thing is going to happen, because the Gog and the Magog are going to be released. The Shias have different beliefs altogether. What is going to happen on the day of judgment with the Mahdi?
The last Imam and shit.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of stories around this, which Muslims must believe because they are part of their Iman. And that's crazy. That's really, it's so fucked up. I mean, where would you think somebody said, well, the Gog and Magog haven't been found. Well, maybe they are underwater somewhere. Maybe they are in some underwater cave behind a huge wall, which at the day of Alexander, or the two-horned guy or whoever built this wall, was above the ocean. That he built this huge thing, and now it's underwater, and they have air, and they have I mean, come on.
Seismic technology cannot pinpoint these people at all, even though there's more. It's like there's more of them than there are people. So I guess they're breeding like crazy down there, or that they've already there's no food, they don't need oxygen, they keep, either there was already over 7 billion of them at the time that he built the wall, or that there's becoming more than 7 billion of them. And then it says that they'll come over across the mountains and stuff. So we'll actually see them before they come across mountains and such, because they'll have to swim to the ocean level floor, go across a beach and such. That makes no sense. I like how tickling the ostriches says, underwater, how inventive.
Well, are creative too, yeah. Is there any TJ, Abu, do you know anything else? What's going to happen on the day of judgment?
I will go to hell.
Yeah, we know that. With pleasure, too, because Christopher Hitchens will be there. We can chat with him.
I will be in good company.
Exactly.
As Nietzsche said, in heaven, all the interesting people are missing.
Exactly true. And I mean, this is the old saying that we have in South Africa: good girls go to heaven, bad girls go everywhere. So I know which ones I prefer.
Well, you want to say something, TJ?
No, I think it's straight up bullshit. But I mean, we can keep talking about it.
Okay,
well,
do you
also,
remember
if
anything else about the day of judgment that I missed?
Okay, on the final day, according to the Quran, there will be the sound, okay, the trumpet, and people will fall dead and have miscarriages unless Allah wills for them not to fall dead.
Trump will be around on the last day?
Trumpets. The sound of the trumpets, you know.
Oh,
and
I heard Trump.
Oh, okay. Well, the trumpet will sound, and people will fall dead, except if Allah doesn't want them to fall dead. There will be miscarriages. People will rise from their graves. Okay, Allah will put them all back together. It's kind of like the story of the man who questioned Allah about how he can raise people from the dead. So Allah kills him and his donkey, and then the guy dies for 100 years. Allah puts them back together and says, look to your side, there's your donkey's bones, and there's your food. And and then everybody will line up. Okay, according to hadith, people will line up naked, just all standing around each other. Nobody's going to be able to really think about anything because of the shock of what's happening to them. And then angels will essentially, if you're to your right side, you will be given your good deeds, and that's if you're going to paradise. On your left side will be your evil deeds, and if you're going to hell. And the people who are going to hellfire, their face will actually be blackened. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Now, there are hadiths saying that if if you lived and died before Allah sent a messenger to you, okay, to your people, then what will happen is there will be this big wall of fire, okay, and everybody will that believes in Allah will walk into the fire, and when they walk into the fire, that's proof of their belief in the oneness of Allah, and they get to go to paradise. Everybody that stays back, they will not get to.
What is that?
I think it's except for martyrs too. Martyrs go directly to heaven. Martyrs go directly to heaven. I mean, those are the only people that are, you know, sure to go to heaven.
Yeah,
Martyrs are, their souls are like in birds right now, so they're already there.
It kind of actually makes me think how the Mormons, they like Christian people, Mormons, after they're dead. So what if they do it to Muhammad? Does he still get to go to paradise? Or is all like, nah, the Mormons fucked you over here, bro. I can't have it.
Joseph Smith got you, bro.
But that's pretty much the gist of what happens on the final day, the day of recompense, the day of resurrection. And it's supposed to be that when you die, Allah takes your soul back, okay? And it feels like when you resurrect, you will feel like you tarried, you slept for a part of a day or a whole day. So
but
these
that's
people
Hindu.
So well, that's the thing. He takes your soul back, and then when on the day of resurrection, he gives your soul back to the earth, and your body is resurrected with your soul inside of it.
With an erection for the man. No, really, this is serious. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe when I read this. Yes, and I put this in, and I took a screenshot of this. It actually says that men will have a permanent erection when they get to heaven, so that they can have lots of sex with the virgins there. It's crazy. It's absolutely
I
crazy.
know,
This is the dream.
No, you're right, because I remember I was reading I saw a clip of a cleric saying that the believers that go to heaven, their penises will never be bent or something like that. That
Yeah.
they'll be completely erect for like, you know, the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Or
It's
something
kind
like
of embarrassing.
It is, isn't it?
that. Try walking in a room with that, huh?
That's crazy. That's really crazy. Oh, another thing I forgot about the Day of Judgment, there are signs which will precede it.
Yeah.
And this is hilarious. I mean, if you read the sign, but they always differ, all right? There's no consensus on anything. The thing is that they have, well, they seem to change along with what is happening currently. Like the one thing that they all agree on is things that they will build some tall buildings, and people will walk barefoot, and people will, freely have sex and things like that. This they agree on, but everything else they seem to make up on the fly. You know, where if they see something happening, you see, this is, or like what they had now is, what was it? The moon. We had a red moon, and then somebody said, "You see, this is a sign because it's happening today." But it happens every month. It happens every year. So there's nothing special about it. But as it comes along, they say this is a sign for the Day of Judgment that it's coming up.
Yeah, but stops. You have to differentiate.
Most importantly is that they're going to fight the Jews. That's most important. that trees and stones will say, "Look, Muslim, there's a Jew behind me. Kill him." Okay, that's most important. Let's not forget that. But also, the Daj will come. He's a one-eyed, like a one-eyed Satan Antichrist. Okay, the Shias, they believe the 12th Imam at the same time, but that's that's only 10% of Muslims really. So, and then, you know, they also believe, let's see here, that, and this is all hadiths, this isn't really Quran, but that the sun will rise from the west. And when the sun rises from the west, nobody can take that as saying that they can become Muslim, because that's the last test of Allah, and that's when he's closing all acceptance of the belief of Allah. That's another form of it.
And also, I think like we have to differentiate, because like, you know, there's major signs and like there's, you know, minor signs as well. So it's not just, you know, it's, I think it's like a total, like from a list where I've seen so like 60 total signs, I think 50 are minor and 10 are major.
Yeah, but
like
they always
that.
vary. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Like, and I think one of them, I think it's found in the Quran. I think it's like the moon is going to split into two again or something. But like the non-believers are going to say no, like, you know, it didn't happen. I think it's in Quran chapter 54, verse 1 through 2. Yeah.
It's for the Muslims who believe. There's Muslims that believe that the moon was split into two already. And then there's Muslims that interpret it as that because it says the moon is cleft asunder, and essentially says that it is nigh, which means it is coming up. So there's Muslims that believe that the moon will be cleft asunder once the sun has come from the west. And then when the moon follows it, that's when the moon will be cleft asunder.
And I think there was one more that I found interesting. I think it was like, you were talking about the trumpet, right? Why so religious?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's because there's the first blow of the trumpet, and then there's the second one. Did you talk about both of them or just one of them?
I just talked about the first one.
Yeah.
Well, the first one that I spoke about is actually the second one, which causes people to instantly die, causes mothers to have miscarriages and such. So I actually talked about the second one.
Okay, and then apparently the other blow of the trumpet, it's like the dead will return to life, and then out of Yemen will come this fire or something, and then people will be gathered for like the day of judgment, which I found quite comical. But that's also another side. So I mean, there's just so many. I mean, you know, you can make a whole show on this topic. I feel like there's so many sides.
What's always interesting to me is when people try to predict the end of times, you know, but essentially in every religion, it always says only their God knows. So why do these people waste their time? Like, what's his name? Isaac Newton. He could have came up with so many more theories, but he decided to sit in his room and try to decode the Bible for an end of times date. It's kind of ridiculous.
Well, I mean, you know, he was a believer, so I mean, you know, you have to expect that. I mean,
but the wrong one.
He really believed it. So,
wrong
despite having a great mind, I mean, I think he still believed in alchemy.
I don't think it was Isaac Newton. I don't think it was Isaac Newton's fault that he was a wrong believer because Joseph Smith wasn't around yet.
Okay, so the Day of Judgment we've done. The only thing that is, or Abu, do you have anything left? No, you said you didn't. Belief in God's predestination. So in other words, no matter what we do, everything is known by this God. So we can't really do anything that this God does not know. So this is the old question with this free will, that what they call, which I think doesn't exist according to Christian and Islamic Jewish doctrine. This is not there. Oh, Tawheed keeps sending me. Okay, Tawheed is sending dick pics. Well, these are just pictures from heaven. What do you mean? So there can be no punishment. Okay, so the free will is something that goes very much against God's predestination. So either you have the one or you have the other. You can't have a predestined sequence of events. In other words, if I get up tomorrow morning and I decide to go to the bakery and have a rye bread, and if God knows that I'm going to have a rye bread at the bakery tomorrow morning, how can I then go and have a bread roll made out of I don't know what?
What if they're sold out of rye?
Well, you see, this is the point. God knows that I'm going to have rye bread. So what if they're sold out? Is that something that God couldn't have known, or that he didn't take into consideration, and therefore says, well, yep, I know this guy, he's going to go and have rye bread tomorrow. Uh-oh, they didn't have any. Does that work? Is that possible? Can I go, if I say I'm going to go and turn left here because I feel like it, can I turn left and then say, actually, no, I've changed my mind, I'll go right anyway? Turn back and go right. Can I do this? Can I change my mind if a God has predestined that I will take the left turn, that I'm going to have a rye bread? Can I go and do something else?
But stops. Isn't that also true, at least within Sunni Islam, that Allah just doesn't know what you're going to do, but doesn't He also create your deeds as well?
Exactly.
Isn't that?
It is written in the book. I mean, the pen has already written it. Your angels have predetermined it. Your angels have already done it, and they are again recording it. So that means you do have free will, because the angels are recording what it is that you are doing. But that means that God didn't know it. So there is no predestination. So how can you believe in predestination, being one of the 6 beliefs, and at the same time have free will? You can't. There is a contradiction there.
Well, the way that I've heard it from that Sheik on Hoodoo TV is, he explained it as Allah goes to the angels. Okay, He has everything. Allah already has everything predetermined and wrote down. But if somebody decides to thank Allah, then Allah can go to the angels and say, you know what, just abrogate that he's going to die tomorrow and give him 30 more days. And if he thanks me again, I might come back and abrogate it again. They think of it as abrogation. They don't think of it as changing.
So what is abrogation other than changing?
Hey, those are Allah knows best questions, bro. Don't be asking me that.
Okay, so you need to believe in predestination, but predestination doesn't make sense. It's illogical, which is why I'm saying I'm not an atheist, because I don't claim that gods can't exist. All I'm saying is that this God cannot exist.
Well, here's the thing. There are Muslims, and I think TJ can attest to this, and if Rob was here, he'd be able to also. On my channel, I've had Muslims who will debate themselves with other Muslims about predetermination.
Yes.
And that's my favorite topic point, is when I have people of the same faith questioning each other. I love that, and I try to let them just go at it for as much as possible. But it took let's see here, who was it? It took Fruitful a long time on my channel to come out and say, yes, you cannot have a single thought or do a single action unless Allah wills it. And I said, so what you're saying is I can't do anything that can get me into paradise or that will lead me into hell. And then Rob brought up the concept of that's an unjust God. If Allah is already making it to the point where he knows there's nothing I can do to pass his quote unquote test, then he set me up for failure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Abu can speak to this, because I
was just going to say, Abu, you have 15 minutes, go.
No, because of especially the whole thing about, Allah creating your deeds. Like, I remember you talking about that before. If you could explain that again.
I made a video, I think in 2016, called Free Will in Islam. There I go. I also had made a Jinn&Tonic show. But yeah, the point is that God, before Allah created everything, he wrote down everything in a Lawh al-Mahfuz. And then he created the creation, everything that will happen from the first moment to the end of time. and everything that happens, all our deeds and intentions and everything happens exactly as it is written in Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz. So, which means that, like, the Muslims that do the deeds of the people of paradise, they do it because Allah has predetermined that, and those who go to hell do it because Allah has predetermined it. That's the short story. And then there's the whole, like, about the different sects that believe different things.
Because Allah has predetermined it. That's the short story. And then there's the whole...
I just muted Sanders because there was a lot of feedback going down for him. Okay, but the thing is, what you did is you went on both sides of the fence and you argued for it and said, okay, if this is true, then this and this and this happens. And if not, then it's this and this. So you showed both sides of the fence and then you came to a conclusion. And this is the interesting approach that I at least find interesting, that you first investigated both sides and then came to a conclusion.
I mean, it is kind of interesting because in the early days of Islam, as I say in the video, there was like an ongoing debate about like this predetermination thing, and that debate is unusually kind of advanced. So there are different sects that believe different things. But yeah, if you want a little bit more knowledge, I think it's better you watch the video.
Yeah, we're not going to go through the whole thing at the moment. It's just to give an outlook. We're talking about the 6 articles of faith, and the 6th one is this predestination one, where you can spend hours talking about it. And this is something, I always say, there are things that are worth debating and things that are not. So this predestination thing is something that is worth debating, the same as free speech and other things, because this is an interesting topic. Other things like the scientific miracles, those are not really worth debating. Whether Allah exists or not, that's not worth debating. Let's talk about the contents of it and the ins and outs of the beliefs. This I find interesting. What did the prophets do, in what way, and how and why, and how do you believe this and what? Those are interesting things, but not this, yeah, you exist and the universe and everything that began to, come on, please spare me. Anyway, I want to welcome.
I mean, if I may, I would just say I would debate those 6 articles of faith, and that jihad for the cause of Allah is actually probably above, would probably actually be above belief in his angels. Because
that was going to be my 7th one, my end of this topic.
Okay.
Let's get right to it before I say hi to Thunderous, because there is one that is missing here where some sects are actually including it. And some sects say, yes, we have to have it, and that is jihad. And jihad here, and we have to be very clear on this, 20% approximately, this is the conservative estimate, 20% of the usage of the word jihad is for your own self-betterment, like stopping to smoke, all right? 80% is striving to spread and convert others forcefully. So 80% is the usage of jihad as in war, and only 20% the other. So this is the conservative estimate, where, of course, Muslim apologists, or many of them anyway, go ahead now and say, well, most of the jihad usage is totally peaceful, has nothing to do with war or violence or anything, and the majority is no. Well, I'm sorry, guys, I see the exact opposite. But be that as it may. But jihad is part of it, and some people say exactly what religious just said. It should be right all the way just after Allah. If you believe in Allah, the second thing is you need to fight for it, because you're constantly being attacked. And this is what apologists like it doesn't matter who, they all say, we are attacking Islam. We're not attacking Islam. We're scrutinizing what is going on, and we're looking at the bad ideas, and those we are critiquing. But it's not an attack, it's a reaction. If there would be no Islam, I wouldn't attack it. If Islam would be totally quiet and would not be propagated left, right, and center and everywhere, I would not worry about it. If Muslims would be the way that they were a couple of decades ago, which was quiet and not bothering anybody else, nobody would bother them. But if they are coming out in full force and telling us we have to, and threatening us and propagating a Quran which is threatening me all the time, then I'm sorry, then I'm going to push back and I'm going to react. That is the way that it is. And this is why this jihad thing, lying about it and saying, well, actually, no, it's just like stopping smoking. That's dishonest.
Well, I would point to 49:15 of the Quran, and anybody just keep this as refuting this concept of jihad as just a personal struggle. You know, only those are believers who have believed in Allah and His Messenger and have never since doubted, but have striven with their belongings and their persons in the cause of Allah. Such are the sincere ones.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how that didn't make the list of the 6 pillars of faith is beyond me.
Because then it would be 7.
Well, that's the thing. I would say that you know, it's higher up. I would say just take off the belief of angels and add that one in its place, and you have the real Islam. You know, because yeah, the Quran does say that you have to believe in angels, but that could be the belief in Allah and His angels. You know, those could just go into one. And then you still have the 6 articles of faith, because jihad is definitely a form of belief. You know, if you're willing to go and fight for something just because you believe it, then obviously that is an article of faith.
Yeah.
Well,
But
even
we
more so
believe in
than that.
Allah and fighting for it. Yeah. Sorry, TJ.
Even more so than that, I mean, it's a duty upon the entire community, not just for, like, you know, a section of Muslims. You know, so we should understand that too, that and there's an end goal in mind with that too. So it's a responsibility to wage warfare against unbelievers, and the goal is what? The goal is to establish Islamic law over the entire world. It's not about conversion. It's not about any of that stuff. The end goal is to, you know, implement Islamic law, you know, throughout the entire world. So we should keep that also, which is going to have disastrous consequences for people like us, as,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's
you know,
reality.
as non-believers.
Yeah. But a
To
lot of
say that would be, you know,
no, but a lot of people say no, it's not true. Oh boy.
Well,
Okay,
just-
Thunderous.
That's
Now
not
it's your
true.
turn.
That's funny. Well, yeah, because it's like Go Live Media was in here, and he typed in Muslims are trying to take over London, and then did a laughing, crying face. And then I asked him, I said, don't most Muslims believe that they want Sharia for the whole world? And then he just goes to, where's your source? Well, just look up on the videos of most Muslims on there. Of course, the vast majority want Sharia for the whole world, because in their eyes, they would be on top. Okay, if there's no Sharia across the world, look at how Muslims are nowadays. They're at the bottom of the pecking order in reality. You know, they actually have to conform these Islamic states, as everybody outside of Islam calls them, but Muslims have to say, nope, it's not true Islam. That's not a true Islamic state. That's because they're at the bottom of the pecking order. And according to Islam, Muslims are at the top of the pecking order.
Exactly. And even beyond that point, unlike canon law and, you know, unlike Mosaic law, Islamic law is for both believers and for non-believers. So, you know, to even say that like, you know, Sharia has nothing to do with politics or like with legislation or how society should be governed or run is just, you know, absolute bullshit. Whether you're a believer or not. It's for the entire
Now, okay, no, sorry. First, this is quite funny. Since Abu and TJ are here, can we resurrect Nietzsche? Would you do a sexual threesome? Okay,
Funny,
Thunderous, welcome to the Jinn&Tonic show. What is your input on the articles of faith in Islam?
Well, the comment I wanted to make, if you was going to go back to it, was the belief in prophets, and particularly the hadith that refers to the 124,000. when I was growing up and when I left Islam, and probably about 10, 15 years later, I took to some studying of that, about the 124,000. And what I couldn't work out was, if you go to any source with reference to the genealogy of Muhammad being the 124,000th prophet, Adam being the first prophet, I couldn't quite work it out mathematically how they get the figure. First of all, I don't think there's any hadith that I can think of that actually lists the genealogy. I know the Bible does. I think in the book of Matthew is one of them, and Chronicles is another book that you can get the total list of prophets, if you like, or genealogy from Adam to Jesus. But there isn't anything in Islamic sources that gives you from Adam to Muhammad, which is quite interesting, because the way I've actually wrote the article down for myself, and that is to say that, if you have 124,000 prophets, assuming that each prophet lived or came to be a prophet as the previous one died, and they lived an average lifespan of if they lived a lifespan of about 40 years, that will give you a figure of 4,960,000 years from Adam to Muhammad. And I couldn't quite work that out. If somebody can help me if that makes any sense to anyone. But also, if they're living concurrently from 43 generations, which has no Islamic basis to come up with the number 43 generations or even the names, then you would have to have something like 2,883 prophets living simultaneously from one generation to the next to the next, and that mathematically can't work out either, surely.
Well, according to Tabari, I think it's sourced from Ibn Ishaq. Muhammad's lineage is given from Ishmael. So, and then you would just add on the Torah's lineage from Abraham and Ishmael back to Adam.
While I respect your comment on that, but that's assuming that they accept that the Book of Chronicles is in canon, but which they don't accept the Book of Chronicles as canon. So they can't pick and choose what they choose as canon if it's going to validate their point, can they? They're only assuming that because they've got no source to refer to of their own.
Well, I mean, I concur with that, to a certain extent, just like how Muslims will use Ibn Ishaq when it fits their needs.
Yeah.
But then after that, they'll say, oh, no, he's unreliable and Malik hated him, but they use Ibn Ishaq, who is the only person I know of that gives the lineage of Muhammad allegedly back to Ishmael. But they'll hold on to that one unbelievably so. They don't want to let that one go.
Can you see the picture?
Yeah. I've seen many of the images when I've visited Muslim houses. They'll have like a lineage on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. This is this.
Yeah.
This shows exactly what happens between Adam and Muhammad, and who is involved where, and how they managed to get all the names in there. Well, some of the names, not 124,000, but some of them. And this is how they're represented, which is totally crazy, because there's a contradiction here, because it says that Mary is the sister of Aaron. But
absolutely,
she's somewhere else. She's drawn on the right and not on the left.
But then it adds at least to further questions, because the questions are where are they, where did they live, what did they write, did they live concurrently, why are other names not mentioned? When you consider the Quran only seems to lead to, I think, about 13 names of prophets. I stand to be corrected, maybe more, but they're all Bible related. You don't find the name of a prophet that's not biblically related. If there's 124,000 prophets, why are only 20 odd mentioned and all of them related to the Bible?
Well, the question is, just ask a Muslim, can you name 3 prophets that are not in the Bible?
Well, can you name? That's just it. This is my contention. The numbers just don't add up when you consider 124,000 prophets. That alone is enough to throw a Muslim. And then, did they live concurrently? How did one die and then another one came along? So, you know, was it like a consistent line from Adam all the way down to Muhammad, which you know, if you're given an average of 40 years per generation, you know, the number 4,960,000 years, just the numbers don't add.
Mm.
What a surprise! Some Bedouins, nomads in the desert couldn't understand math appropriately.
Okay, then just to round off the topic a little bit, I've got another one. Ibn Abbas narrates that the angel Jibril once asked the Prophet, "Tell me, what is Iman? What is this faith?" And the Prophet replied, "Iman is to believe in Allah, the Day of Judgment, His angels, books, and prophets, and to believe in life after death, and to believe in paradise and the fire, and the setting up of the mizan, the scales, to weigh the deeds, and to believe in the divine decree, the good, the bad of it all. And if I do all this, will I be with Iman?" And the Prophet said, "When you have done all of this, you will be having Iman." Now, who is more right? So if you follow what Muhammad says, you are contradicting Allah. If you do what Allah says, you are contradicting Muhammad. So who is right here? This is what I'm always saying, that there are so many contradictions between the hadiths and between the Quran. And this is one example. So whom do you follow? Abu Huraira narrated that the Prophet said, Iman has more than 70 branches. The most excellent among these branches is the saying of La ilaha illallah, there's no God Allah. And the smallest branch is to remove an obstacle from the wayside. And higher, the modesty is an important branch of Iman. And another one goes, 77 branches of faith is a collection compiled by Imam, this is a guy, al-Bayhaqi, and his work, Shuhab al-Iman. So there are different books, there are different ways, there are different numbers out there. What Muslims believe has to do something with faith, and everybody contradicts each other.
Well, I'm looking at a hadith right now, and they give Abu Huraira what the Allah's messenger was asked was the best deed, to believe in Allah and His messenger. Then the questioner asked, what is the next? To participate in jihad. So go figure.
Yeah. Why does it make sense? Why does it make sense to Muslims? Oh boy.
Because they're
Any
not
other
allowed to doubt.
ideas on this?
They're not allowed to doubt, so that's why it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the point, isn't it? Because it only makes sense if you believe things blindly. If you're not thinking that it's logically or rationally, as any sane person would, then it doesn't make sense. But if you're going to accept things blindly and by rote, which is the tradition of probably about 99% of Muslims or those who profess the Islamic faith, then this is why we have these discussions.
Yeah. Lily, you're going to hell. See you there.
And what's funny is how Muslims will say,
oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying how it's funny how Muslims will say, oh, but the Quran asks us to ponder this and that, to think about it. No, Allah is essentially saying, I just want you to ponder the Quran in the sense that you must know exactly what I say in the Quran. And then, like in 49:15 that I gave, he says, don't doubt it at all. If you ever doubt it, that takes away your sanctity as a Muslim, as a follower of Allah. So,
but that doesn't make. I hear what you're saying there, and that's what we were all brought up to believe. But the thing is for me, when it says ponder on the Quran, but the Quran wasn't a Quran at the time that, in a physical form at the time that Muhammad and subsequent generations were around. So how could you ponder on something that didn't exist, unless you had everybody that knew certain verses or surahs of the Quran and they sat there as a collective and they're all reciting it mentally one after the other. How could you have anything to ponder on? Ponder on something. You normally have something physical or a thought that you go away, you think upon and investigate. But there is nothing to investigate or to ponder on if there's nothing physically there to read.
And then Rehman Salman also mentioned 5:101, 102 of the Quran. O ye who believe, ask not questions about things which, if made plain to you, may cause you trouble. Now, what's funny about that is if you follow the tafsirs and the hadiths, this was people testing Muhammad, and they would say, who is my father? Muhammad wouldn't know the person, and then Muhammad would give a name, and then it would make the real father of the person mad. And Muhammad just like labels this as saying, look, don't ask me questions that are going to make you upset, because only I and Allah know the answers. You know, your wife cheated on you is pretty much what Muhammad is saying right there.
That's one of those convenient revelations that he got, a bit like, when people were arriving early for dinner and staying a little bit longer than they should, and then you got a certain surah that seemed to be convenient uniquely for him. So this raises other questions, doesn't it? From this eternal book that was in heaven before mankind was even on earth, you have verses that are singled out to only have any benefit for one man in one period of time for the particular period that he was only a prophet. What, about 20 years was it?
Muhammad?
Yeah. 23.
Roughly.
So Allah wrote some verses in a book that's eternal, that only had, depending on when he actually got that revealed the surah, or even if you assume that he revealed it at the beginning of his prophet, which he didn't, but for argument's sake, an eternal book, which is eternal, that has surahs that only benefit 23 years for one man. Doesn't sound eternal to me. Or fair.
Not really, no. Okay, anybody else? TJ's gone for a smoke. Abu, what about you? Is there anything that you want to add to the Iman, to the faith, to the 6 articles of faith? No.
No, not from the top of my head.
Just going on to the belief of angels, if I may. What I never understood as well growing up is they don't have free will.
No.
So in effect, I mean, forgive the analogy, and if somebody wants to correct me, because it is rather crude, but I always thought about them as being nothing more than dogs. They're creatures. You could send them to fetch the newspaper, send them to fetch the slipper, throw a ball, and it'll come and get it. But they don't have the ability to. They're not self-conscious
Correct.
Or self-aware, or can make independent decisions, independent from any other person or for themselves subjectively.
I'm not sure that they're not self-aware or have any kind of consciousness. I think they have.
But they can only obey. That's the only thing they can do.
But yeah, they can't
They can question. Like they did question, why are you going to create vice grants for the earth after you have seen what they have caused before, when he was creating Adam?
Yeah.
And then they were saying essentially that
I know what you don't know. Finish. Shut up.
Yeah, pretty much.
That doesn't sit right with free will, then, does it?
No.
To have that level of intelligence and intellect when you don't have free will.
No, angels are really the executors. They do what they are told.
And I think people who are listening.
Sorry, forgive me, I interrupted. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I believe that people noticed this when Muhammad was talking about Iblis, about Satan. And that's the reason at first Muhammad says that Allah told the angels to prostrate, but Iblis was not of those who prostrated. So people are asking him, hey, how come this angel didn't prostrate if angels don't have free will, that they have to do everything? And then Muhammad later comes on and says, oh, well, he was a part of the jinn. Now, I think there's 4 times in the Quran that it mentions angels having to prostrate to Adam, and only 2 of the times it mentions that Iblis, Satan, is a jinn. So to me, if you follow it chronologically, it comes out as Muhammad mentions him grammatically as one of the angels, and people come back and say, hold on a second, but angels don't have free will. How did this happen? And then Muhammad has to add 2 more times where he says, no, he was part of the jinn.
Well, here's a funny one. I didn't even know this. Does anybody know the story that Lily's just talking about? Moses slapped an angel? Right?
I've heard of that one.
Never heard that. Because she says the angel of death said no to killing Moses after he slapped him.
Well, that's the thing. It's
Never heard this.
also there's one about Adam, like wanting to give more years of life to one of his sons, and he's like debating an angel. It's a really weird one. It's similar to how Muhammad debates Allah for less prayers. I guess Allah's authority is questionable at certain times, depending on which prophet you are.
The angel of death was sent to Moses, and when he went to Moses, slapped him severely, spoiling one of his eyes. The angel went back to his Lord and said, you sent me to a slave who does not want to die. Allah restored his eye and said, go back and tell him to place his hand over the back of an ox, for he will be allowed to live for a number of years equal to the number of hairs coming under his hand. What? So the angel came to him and told him the same. Moses asked, oh my Lord, what will be then? He said, well, death will be then. Moses said, well, then rather be it now. He asked Allah that he bring him near the sacred land of a distance of a stone's throw. Allah's messenger said, where are there? I would show you the grave of Moses by near the bed. Said, wow, I haven't seen this before. Thank you, TJ. Thank you, Lily. I have never seen this hadith, never heard of it, and never knew that Moses said, what, you want to kill me? Fuck you. Poof, and he just slaps him.
Don't slap the messenger.
Yeah, but then he goes back and says, Allah, look, he hit me. and then Allah has to tell him, no, go back, go there again and tell him again. And then put your hand in there, you will have as many lives as hairs under your hand on the back of an ox. And Moses says, no, fuck you, I want to die now. Oh, this is so brilliant. Come on, guys. This is so human made. This is so obvious. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it's just weird to me that people believe stuff just because they're told to believe it. And that's how I always look at it. Like if beating your wife wasn't in the Quran, then Muslims wouldn't hold the position that it's okay to, or even try to apologetically accept it, you know. And that's the same thing with like Christianity, you know, and all religions. If it wasn't in their belief system, they wouldn't believe it. So to me, it just cast out the whole belief system.
Yeah, but bro, it's beat her lightly though, you know. It's lightly. Come on, bro. Got that part.
I actually brought that up when the air went off last week, and there was the after show. There was the debate about this, and I never got an answer. I think you were there too, TJ, right? Like,
yeah.
I brought up different verses that use the same word for striking / beating, and asked him, what's the difference when an angel is said that he is going to slap somebody's face, or when Moses was told to strike the rock with his staff? Why is that a different concept than striking your wife? And they never answered me on that. And Rob even said, he's like, ask the question again.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments, or should we call it a day? Because it's exactly 2 hours now, and I don't want to make it long just to make it long for the sake of making it long. Is there anything else that anybody wants to say, or should we go to the hadith of the day? Hadith of the day it is. Okay. Question. What is the value of 10 human lives? Well, it's very easy. Repeating a stupid sentence 100 times. Because Abu Huraira, well, who else? Abu Huraira narrated, Allah's messenger said, if one says 100 times in one day, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah the alone, who has no partners, to him belongs dominion, and to him belong all the praises, and he has the power of all things. If you say this 100 times in one day, you will get the reward, which is equivalent to manumitting, in other words, freeing 10 slaves. You get 100 good deeds written to your account. You will get 100 bad deeds wiped off or erased from your account. And on that day, he will be protected from the morning till evening from Satan. And nobody will be superior to him except one who has done more than which he has done. And if you want to read this, Sahih Bukhari, book 54, number 514. But what strikes me is, if you say this 100 times, this is worth 10 human lives.
Why didn't that make it into the 6 articles of faith?
Yeah.
You know, what were there people, Muslims in the past, that heard that and took it as one of the 6 articles of faith?
It's crazy. That's crazy. But Muslims must believe this, and they must think that this is totally just and that it's perfectly okay. Just say something 100 times, as good as 10 lives. Wow. And on that bombshell, ladies, gents, and others, we will close the show. Is there any need for an after show? I don't think there's anything interesting or vital going on at the moment. I am waiting with bated breath what is going to happen in London, whether this guy is going to go and get prosecuted for slapping an elderly disabled lady or not. Other than that, go well, stay calm, and we'll see you next week, Friday, on the Jinn&Tonic show. And remember, tomorrow evening, go and watch what Kenny Bama is going to come up with when it comes to embryology in the Qur'an. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.